Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Dr. Haji Mohammad Abul Fadle Haji Maidin from University Islam Sultan Sharif Ali, Brunei Darussalam. I would like to share a research about usability of human interaction using touch screen interfaces, which is a comparison of one direction tapping and multi-direction tapping. Introduction. The touchscreen technology has become a common form of interaction for many electronic devices. Indeed, it is part of day-to-day life to such an extent that many people will have in their pocket a smartphone that relies on touchscreen interaction. Nevertheless, initial literature identified that the widespread use of touch-based user interfaces has been limited by the high error rates shown in many studies, the lack of precision, the fatigue in arm motion, and the concern for screen smudging. Hence, the purpose of this research is to evaluate the usability of touch-based user interfaces in terms of effectiveness and user satisfaction. In order to answer the question of whether a touch-based user interface is better or more effective, useful, practical, and satisfying to the user, an investigation of comparison to other alternative interaction methods by means of mouse and stylus has been conducted. There will be two design version tests. First, one direction tapping test in which the evaluating point is the movement along one directional axis. Second, multi-directional direction tapping test in which the evaluating point is the movement along multi-directional axis. The initial recruitment of the participants took place by means of a recruitment questionnaire. Since the test involved test aspect of using touch-based technology, it was deemed important to have participants with a certain amount of experience in using touchscreen devices and computers in general. This is because if there happen to be a number of beginners to such activities, this would lead to compromised result. Therefore, 23 individuals took part in the experiment. 22 participants were right-handed. All participants had computer experience and ex- had experience with the touch-based devices. They all signed an informed consent document informing them of the goals and activities of the study, their right to terminate, and the confidentiality of the performance. Since the test is investigate the difference of three input devices and the same participant take part in all conditions, a winning user design was deployed. 23 participants were assigned to do the test, which include 12 tasks for one direction tapping test and 9 tasks for multi-direction tapping test. The task for one direction tapping test, the task consists of alternately tapping between the two keyboards. The participant will instruct to point and click along one axis within each key for 25 times using touch, stylus, and mouse. Each test session starts when the user first moves the pointer into a key and activates it. This allows the participant to move quickly back and forth between the two keys. This experiment consists of 4 tasks altogether, in which the level of difficulty increases at each stage in which the target becomes smaller and the distance greater. Then the multi-direction tapping test task, the participant will instruct to point and click a keyboard by tapping on random highlighted key for 25 times using touch, stylus, and mouse. Each test session starts when the user first moves the pointer on a key and activates it. This allows the participant to move quickly back and forth between the two keys. This experiment consists of three tasks in which the target becomes smaller, thereby making each level of the task increasingly difficult. Procedure of the experiment. When conducting the experiment, each participant was seated in the chair position before the monitor and asked to complete a participant questionnaire. The observer read out the experiment instruction and explained the purpose of the experiment and the way that the result would be used. The participant was given the opportunity to ask any questions prior to the start of the experiment, and if they had no question, the prototype was loaded by the observer and the user was instructed to follow the on-screen instruction and begin when ready. When ready to begin, the user clicked start and the time was recorded by the software for the observer's use. The participants' error rates and movement times were recorded throughout the experiment by the prototype software. Any comment made were recorded by the observer. After completion of the first task, participants rested for a few minutes before receiving instruction to the next task. Here's the result for the one direction tapping test on movement time. The table indicates the movement time for every task of the touch is significantly faster than other two devices. Moreover, the amount of speed shows a statistically significant difference for the mouse and stylus, but not for touch. Then for the one direction tapping test result on speed, the figure shows the amount of speed using mouse, stylus, and touch has a similar tendency of movement time, except for the mouse in task 2, where the mouse shows a slight decrease while touch and stylus show a slight increase. All of the input devices' movement time gradually increased in the last two tasks. Through observation, task 4 had a higher amount of speed compared to other tasks because the difficulty increase as this led to slower movement time. The movement time of touch is faster because it's easier and faster tapping with the finger. However, the mouse shows slowest amount of speed because tapping using a mouse takes more times as the participant need to control the mouse to the targeted area and then click it. Overall movement one direction tapping test. The table indicates that touch has the fastest overall movement. Then result on the average of one direction tapping test. As can be seen in the table, it indicates that the error rates of touch, mouse, and stylus has no statistically significantly difference. Then on one direction tapping test on error rate, the figure shows that touch, stylus, and mouse have different tendency of error rates, where the mouse shows steady error rates for task 1 and 2 and fluctuated over the next two tasks. There was a slight decrease of error rates using the mouse in task 2, however they continued to increase steadily over the next two tasks. On the other hand, using touch shows an increase of error rates in each level of task until it reached its highest point in task 4. Then result on one direction tapping test, overall error rate. The table indicates that the overall error rate of touch was almost two times greater than with the mouse, which recorded the lowest error rate among the three input devices, while the stylus showed the second highest error rate. Then we move on to multi-direction tapping test, result on movement time. The table indicates that the movement time with the touch and stylus has no statistically significant difference, whereas the mouse shows a statistically significant difference. Then in terms of multi-direction tapping test of speed, The figure illustrates that the amount of speed of mouse and touch have quite a similar tendency of movement time, where it was very stable throughout the entire task. On the other hand, the stylus recorded the highest amount of speed in task 1, which then decreased significantly in task 2 and remained steady from task 2 and task 3. Through observation, participants shows faster movement times using touch in the entire task because it was easier using touch in the tapping task. Task 3 shows the low amount of speed due to the fact that the tasks are learnable and participants were much relaxed at the end of the task. Then we move on the overall movement time on multi-direction tapping test result. As can be seen in the table, the mean and standard deviation indicate that the fastest overall movement time is touch, followed by the mouse, and then the stylus, which recorded the lowest among the devices. Then we move on multi-direction tapping test overall movement time. As can be seen in the table, the mean and standard deviation indicate that the fastest overall movement time is touch, followed by the mouse and then stylus, which recorded the lowest among the devices. Then errors on the multi-direction tapping test, as can be seen in the table, it indicates the error rates with the touch, mouse and stylus has no statistically significant difference. Then errors on the multi-direction tapping test. The figure shows the touch, stylus, and mouse have a dissimilar tendency of error rates. Then overall errors on multi-direction tapping tests. The mean and standard deviation that has been shown in the table points out that the overall error rate of touch is almost 2 times higher than the stylus, which recorded the lowest error, while the mouse showed the second highest error rate. Then we move on one direction tapping test of user satisfaction level result. The Freeman test indicates that the participant considered it much easier using touch on task given rather than the mouse and stylus. This indicates that touch device is easier than the mouse and stylus in the one direction tapping test. In terms of general indices for all 7 indicators, touch was rated highest. The stylus recorded the worst rating among the participants, as the mean shows for all 7 indicators. Similarly, with regards to the fatigue indices for all 6 indicators, touch gave the most satisfaction in one direction tapping test. The stylus were rated to be the worst input device for all of indicators. This led to the conclusion that touch came out best overall in the one direction tapping test in relation to general and fatigue indices. Then we move on to multi-direction tapping test on user satisfaction level result. The Freeman test indicates that the participant considered it much easier using the touch on the task given rather than the mouse and stylus. This indicates that touch is easier to use than the stylus and mouse in the multi-directional tapping test. In terms of general indices for all 7 indicators, touch was the highest rated. The stylus recorded the worst rating as mean shows for all 7 indicators. Similarly, with regards to the fatigue indices for all 6 indicators, touch was favored by the participant in the multi-directional tapping test. The stylus was rated to be the worst input device for all the indicators. This led to the conclusion that touch came out best in the multi-directional tapping test in relation to general and fatigue indices. In summary, Based on the result analysis, the one direction tapping test shows that although touch has the fastest movement time means, however, it has highest error rate means compared to the stylus and mouse. Similarly, the multi-directional tapping test also shows that touch has the fastest input movement time compared to the mouse and stylus, yet again, touch has the highest error rate among the three input devices. Through observation, participant movement time of touch is faster because it is easier and faster tapping with the finger. The reason for the error rate The reason for the error was due to the fact that participants found the task easy and did them quickly, which led to inaccuracy. In relation to participant satisfaction level between the touch, mouse, and stylus, for general emphatic indices, touch came out best in the both one-direction tapping test and multi-direction tapping test. However, the stylus had the worst rating among all input devices. This suggests that using touch is the most preferable input device in tapping test, whilst the stylus is the least preferable. Thank you.